Have you ever wanted to put a gradient on a border and it didn't work? This is when you need the pseudo class elements of either before or after to enable you to basically do something that's not possible with normal CSS. And if this is your first time watching this channel, my name's Rob. I'm a coding instructor here at Pre-Code Camp, where we try to break things down into bite-sized chunks, allowing you to get on your path to creating and understanding. So whenever you want to do something creative, but somehow, like I said, normal CSS properties won't do the trick, like putting a gradient on a border, then you're going to need to have a special pseudo class element utilizing that before or after to make that impossible possible. So with that being said, let's go ahead and dive into the code to show you what we're talking about and maybe give you ideas on how to apply this pseudo class of either before and after. So let's go ahead and dive into it. All right, so let's take a look at the code here. What we have is just a standard index file here for HTML, and then we have an index.css, and they're linked together. That way we are able to style this here. And then we have the live preview happening right over here. Okay, so typically when you have an element on the page, you're going to have an opening tag and a closing tag. And we're able to target this with the pseudo class of putting things either before or after. So let's go ahead and go through that example here first to break this down for you. So we're going to target it with the H1, and then we're going to add the double colon and then either type before or after. Now this takes some properties that we can apply here for CSS, and we want to add some content on here. What can we do? Let's go ahead and put the word hello, and notice that I'm getting text right here that is coming before the pre-code camp H1 that we are putting on there. I can even add a background color here. And let me go ahead and put the semicolon in there. And notice that I now have the red background. So again, really neat that we can do this with either before, or we can apply this with the after, and it's just going to put this content after. It's like it's appending it to the element. Now, if you're going to be utilizing this for styling purposes, right? That's what we're trying to go for here, not trying to add content. We are able to simply remove the hello, but notice that our background color is gone. Well, how are we going to get that back? We need to do a couple things here. I'm going to go ahead and just target the H1 normally, and I want to make that position. I'm going to set that to relative. Okay. Now, the next thing that I would like to do here, and let me expand this just to make it look more like CSS here for us, is that I would like to come down here so we can see this red background color. We need to give it a height, and let's give that 10 pixels. And then let's give the width 10 pixels also. Now we're still not seeing it because we need to give this a position of absolute. Okay, now once we get that, now we actually see the red box and we're able to move this into a position of where we would like. So let's go ahead. We're going to try to make this an underline gradient here to go underneath the pre-code camp H1. And let's go ahead and do a bottom. Let's go ahead and do a -5 pixels. And then we'll go ahead and do a left here, and we're going to set that to 0. Okay. Now it's not quite an underline yet, but we can make it one by going down here and making the width here 100%. But notice that it's taking up the full block. The height is too much. Let me go ahead and adjust that to 4 pixels for the underline, but the width is going all the way to the right. We can adjust this and fix for this by going up to the H1 and making the width here max content. And now it takes up just the amount of space that the words are, which makes that really nice. Now, we are also able to turn this into maybe a hover type of effect by utilizing the pseudo class of hover. We're going to also target the after as well. So we're going to do H1 hover, but we want this to happen on the after pseudo class. And we can change this to a width of 0. Now, if I hover over this, notice it just goes away in a blink. We can also add a quick transition and maybe make this 100 milliseconds. And then we'll get a nice little hover effect of it disappearing. And again, you can apply any type of CSS that you would like to this. Maybe you want a border radius of 10 pixels. Okay. And the last thing that I'll show you here is that we can even make a gradient on here. And there's a gradient that you could not have done unless you utilized a pseudo class. And again, it still behaves the same as the hover effect. So pretty cool, right? So utilizing those pseudo classes can really help make your design pop, not only with hover effects, but just to add some extra styling to your elements that you couldn't normally get unless you were targeting this, utilizing the pseudo class. So hopefully this video helped you in your journey. If it did, make sure you hit that like button. It really helps us out, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.